In watchmaking, there are sometimes pieces you come across that just have a unique ability to resonate with what you're all about. And in the past 2 years, one of those watches that have quickly just become one of my personal favorites in watchmaking is this Parmigiani Tonda. It's a watch from an independent brand that has understated looks, it has a beautiful caliber, and easily one of the coolest utilizations of a GMT that you have to see. Let's jump in. Now, Parmigiani Fleurier is one of those brands that I think more people should know about and appreciate, and you'll see that with the coverage of this watch in this video. But if you want more coverage of brands just like this one that I think are underappreciated, and also looking at brands that are staples in luxury watches that you should know, I'd recommend checking out our top luxury watch brand article down in the description below. It has over 50 on that list, including background information about the founding of the brands, some fun facts about each one of the brands, as well as top models to consider. Link will be in the description down below. Now, compared to many of the established names in high watchmaking, Parmigiani Fleurier is a relative newcomer, having only been founded back in 1996. Quickly acquiring a range of specialized case and movement component manufacturers, the brand has developed into a true manufacturer in the early 2000s. And despite a lot of great work being done in both the design and development of more complicated calibers, Parmigiani has a bit of an up and down history like most brands that have arisen in the past several decades. But in recent years though, this is a brand that is on the rise, and the jump-starting of the heart for this brand has been rapid, and now it has a sustained, consistent, heavy beat by way of a series of notable model releases among the Tonda PF collection, as well as having new leadership at the top. The now CEO, Guido Turini, spent the last decade before joining PF in 2021 at Bulgari as the head of their watch division, in many ways helping to establish the brand as a serious watchmaking house in the 21st century, helping to lead the now classic Octo Finissimo to market. Now, as a byproduct of strategic management decisions and great new products, there feels as if there's a newfound aura around the brand, leading me to become an enormous fan in the process. Part of the increasing fascination though came with this watch, formerly known as the Tonda PF GMT Rattrapante. Upon glancing through the dome sapphire crystal with more than capable AR coating, you have a dial that is remarkably pure in its approach. The minute track is neatly seated at the lower set perimeter. The applied faceted white gold hour markers are easily detected but do not seek attention or are trying to make a statement of extravagance beyond their intended purpose. The fine barleycorn guilloche pattern doesn't distract from the applied logo for the brand, as well as not distracting from the gold hands at center. And yes, I meant to say 3 hands. So as the name suggests, this watch features a GMT and a Rattrapante function. A Rattrapante is most commonly associated with chronographs loosely translating from French to mean to catch again or to take again. This watch exhibits its ingenuity by way of a hidden hand set beneath the hour hand, so it is not easily detected when looking straight on. To isolate one of the hands to have one remove itself from hiding, we don't need to reach for the crown. Instead, simply press the button clearly integrated to the bottom left lug. With each individual press, the hidden hour hand can proceed forward in 1 hour increments. The intended use is to create a seamless travel watch. So say you are traveling from the West Coast out east, you would press the button for each individual hour you are advancing, with the white gold top hour hand serving as your now local time, and the freshly appearing gold hand underneath serving as your home time. The push-pull crown operates in typical fashion, hand winding at the first position and changing the time at the farthest pulled out point. However, it also houses one additional trick, as the crown also features a button that can be seen as the gold protruding from the riveted steel circumference below. This button serves as the returning home function. So upon returning home from your trip, you would continue with just one single push and the top hour hand snaps back to the home positioning, resting above the gold hour hand, hiding it from sight, all while never having to have the watch be removed from your wrist. This feature is the most stealthy and intuitive integrations of a dual time zone feature that I have ever seen, while in the process helping the watch to maintain one of the purest and undiluted dials you will come across. This level of restraint and subtlety in high watchmaking is rarer than I'd probably like to see, though the Tonda PFs continues this further with the case and the movement. Measuring 40 millimeters in diameter at 10.8 millimeters thick and 45.7 millimeter lug to lug, the wearing experience presented here falls in a sweet spot that will allow it to be viable for a wide variety of wrists. Given the integrated format, the first bracelet link does extend to a theoretical lug to lug of somewhere around 50 millimeters, but the downswept nature of the lugs means this isn't experienced as an additional heft on the wrist, wearing rather true to size. The Tonda PF's case design and finishing are both truly excellent, with broad ornate lugs and a multi-tiered bezel with a coin edge base and sloping upper element. Pairing vertical brushing along the case sides with polishing for the crown, lug fronts, and bezel, the watch demonstrates an exceptional level of finishing that transitions to the rest of the slim bracelet. Despite appearing as though it might operate with standard lugs, the bracelet meets the central case at a broad 15mm center link anchored with traditional spring bars. Tapering from around 27 millimeters where it meets the case to 19.5 millimeters, terminating with a slick butterfly style clasp, the bracelet's construction and finishing are in keeping with this elevated price point and luxury position. Pairing polished outer links with proportionally smaller brushed center links that feature screws, the bracelet is both attractive and extremely comfortable as an effect of the smaller link width and the noticeable gap between the links that allows for excellent breathability. That said, the bracelet does lack finer points of micro adjustment. Now turning the watch over, we take up view of the in-house PF051, a caliber that is also impressive in both construction and artisanal hand finishing. So as we call this caliber out, it's important to really talk about Parmigiani's dedication to movement manufacturing, with the brand having founded its own production arm, Vaucher, back in 2003, being the majority owner in the manufacturer, with Hermes now also having a smaller invested interest. In addition to being able to produce their own calibers, Vaucher also acts as a supplier of complete movements and base components for some of the leading brands in the industry, including AP, Richard Mille, and independents like Fleurier and Chopik. Now to put it simply, the PF051 powering the Tonda Rattrapante GMT is beautiful, with its micro rotor construction allowing additional real estate for the finishing to shine. Measuring a svelte 4.9 millimeters thick and constructed from no less than 207 components and 31 jewels, this movement uses a solid gold micro oscillating weight and 3 Hz or 21,600 vibration per hour frequency to produce a power reserve of 48 hours. Of course, the star outside of the ingenious GMT function is the finishing. We have Geneva waves across the bridges, perlage on the base plate, polished screw heads and countersinks, elegant anglage on the bridge edges, barleycorn style texture on the rotor with mirroring edges on the rotor itself, and a relatively open presentation of the gear train and free sprung balance. While the PF doesn't make any specific claims about timekeeping, it does say on the caliber itself that it is tested and adjusted across 5 different positions, with the example here running at +2 to +5 seconds when testing across 5 positions ourselves. In terms of general operation here, 21,600 vibrations per hour, 3 Hz, does feature power reserve of 48 hours, and does feature hand winding. So now to unpack the Tonda PF GMT Rattrapante. So let's talk about some of the cons, pros, and my opinion of this watch. Now first, some of the drawbacks. This isn't going to be the cheapest of watches out there, coming in with an asking price of $28,000, a bit more than that actually, making it one of many among the busy crowd of high horology integrated watches, while offering some shortcomings in the water resistance department of only 60 meters compared to some sportier competition. And although having an excellent bracelet, lacking fine points of micro adjustment is going to be an issue for some. Now before we look at the objective realities and some of the pros, I do want to say that this is one of my favorite luxury watch releases of the past couple of years. The concept of the complication is brilliant and perhaps the most intuitive of any dual time watch I have ever worn. The finishing from the caliber, the case to the dial, all well done. The design, despite being a part of a very popular subgenre of watches, is very much its own design. But perhaps my favorite draw, and this is just more of my opinion, is just how understated it is despite its price and complication. This is a watch on the surface that appears so simple, not in a derogatory or incomplete way, I don't mean it that way, but in a way that is not trying to draw attention. And that's a pretty rare concept when you're talking about a watch that costs $28,000 or more. A lot of people, when they're deciding to buy something, they want to let everybody know in the room that it's expensive. But why I appreciate this is something that I'll tie in with another interest of mine, which is fine fragrances. There's this concept of aiming to be discovered, not announced, when you try to apply a fragrance. Meaning the way you apply your fragrance should be done in a manner where it should never be a bother to those as soon as you walk into a room, but rather be applied enough to leave an impression that brings appreciation by being tastefully subtle. In a way, this watch has a similar premise in my mind. It never makes a loud, desperate announcement of its up luxury position, only a subtle whisper to the one that's lucky enough to wear it, and those select few that know fine watchmaking when they can see it. But all right, guys, that's my take on this Parmigiani Tonda PF Rattrapante GMT. I know it's a mouthful. This is one of the watches I wanted to cover for a while. I know, given its price and being a brand that some people like just are not as familiar with, it might not get as many views, but I don't really care. I think this is a killer watch. I'd love to own one of these watches one day. I think they're really cool and how they're able to demonstrate this unique way of showcasing a GMT. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell icon, really would appreciate that. Also definitely check out TeddyBaldassarre.com, full authorized dealer of 30 brands, quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer support, and full factory warranty for all the products that we offer. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I will see you all very soon.